Welcome to Urban Legend Crypto. This is Pedro Richer with co-host Brett Jennings. We're here to you live to talk about
AI.
How about we talk about AI?
Hey, I have an idea. Want to talk about AI?
How about you guys? You want to talk about AI?
A lot of interesting snippets.
Snip.
What's going on, man? How's the past week been? You been busy?
I've been busy.
Good. A little bit of loans, a little bit of refis,
A little bit of all that.
a little bit of customer service. Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on, man. So
How about you, man? What you been doing?
I have just been spending a lot of time networking with a few different groups, and I'm getting ready for the Breathe conference next week. Then I'm going to be doing a couple panels on. So I'll have my elevator pitch down, the whole 9 yards. So working with a couple people on that. But yeah, I mean, that's just trying to get my crypto agent boot camp together. I've actually wrote a new course, changed the name, and now I need to get it recertified. So I changed the name to Bricks to Blockchain.
Bricks
To blockchain. What do you think?
Bricks, like in bricks?
Yeah.
Or bricks that
BRICKS, like bricks in a building.
Got it.
Bricks to blockchain.
Bricks to blockchain. All right.
So I've just been working on that, man, and just trying to keep up with everything. So
All right. Well, good luck with that.
thanks.
Keeping up with stuff. That's something. All right. So the first thing on our agenda, AI. Let's talk about
AI.
All right, AI. So go ahead and let's start having you read that.
All
That's your
right.
camera up there.
That's my camera up here.
Yeah, so just read it and
I
it'll look
see
like
we're
you know what you're talking about.
All right. So I was reading an article that was in Time Magazine by the co-founder of Google's DeepMind. If anybody knows what that is, obviously Google's been doing some research on AI for quite a bit. He's the guy who's the CEO of their department for DeepMind, and he basically made a few points that he was talking, not points he was talking about, but a very interesting perspective of his. The first people he said, or he predicts that will be affected the most and not taken out, but their lives will be changed completely, where AI is going to impact the most, is going to be middle-class, white-collar jobs.
Middle class, white collar.
And we kind of had a conversation before. You said, well, I think it's going to be more like fast food workers or something like that, more that can be computer generated, which I do agree with, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of middle-class kind of white-collar jobs are a range between $50 to $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year, something around there. But primarily, a lot of them are the breadwinners, or at least contribute to half or over half of the income to the household. So to have AI kind of take their job away is going to reposition a lot of people, right? And I think people need to understand that chat prompt engineer is going to be is essentially the new coder. Okay, so if you know how to ask AI properly, it can do anything. And that's what people need to understand, which is AI can literally do almost anything, if not nearly everything. If it hasn't, or you can't get it to do something, it's because you don't know how to ask it properly. So asking AI properly what to do and what you need it to do is an art form itself. It's the new coding, if you will. So once people have that down, and there probably are a few people that are more than qualified for that right now, you insert them into a company, and you can now, that chat prompt engineer can now replace 4 or 5, maybe 6 different jobs that were done before that were kind of mandatory or that AI can figure out how to do. So think about this. Think about even 5 employees at $70,000 a year. That's $350,000 a year you're saving your company, or the company's saving, for simply not having 4 or 5 different people that one person, a chat prompt engineer, can do now. The systems that are the most resilient right now and the most established right now, aka real estate, lending, financials, they are the ones that are the most at risk for AI taking over or restructuring the power structure on the way that things like that go. So you have power structures that already exist right now. The most resilient ones, or I should say the most reliant on established systems, are the most vulnerable. So think about all the businesses. I mean, look at, like, say, real estate right now. Every successful realtor has some form of a system that's set up, correct? Mm-hmm. That's how you're able to do volume at the numbers that you can do and still have good customer service, is to have your systems in place. You weed through everything a lot quicker. So, but systems like this can be figured out by AI. So instead of us needing to have all these different systems and paying all these different companies to use these different systems, we can literally just have a language model, have the proper chat engineer. And think about this. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway as a brokerage could have literally one chat prompt engineer for the entire Berkshire Hathaway in the entire country. You could have a lot of legal forms. You could have a lot of things. So regardless, there's a lot of systems that are already in play right now that rely on systems. And that's the one that AI is going to figure out the first.
Okay.
You know, I mean, what are some other things on there? Focused on AI will disrupt power hierarchies. We've talked about that. Technology will disrupt existing power hierarchies. AI is advancing faster than any other technology has ever progressed. We thought the internet went fast. Internet was in slow-mo mode compared to AI. You know, focuses on the unpreparedness of the middle class, white-collar jobs sector for AI adoption. That's the professional preparedness. Everybody needs to get ready and understand what's about to happen.
Technology will drive down prices and margins for many businesses. Certain goods and services might transition to collector or government ownership, suggesting a shift of universal basic income to universal basic services.
Here's one that you like: basic services like hospitals and stuff like that will be able to, a lot of the services that hospitals provide will be able to be done by AI so cheap that places like hospitals will make little to no margin at all anymore. Therefore, it'll be basically taken over by government services. So the hospitals will be run by government services because independently and privately, they won't be able to really make any money anymore.
Brother, it sounds like you're describing freaking Wall-E. You ever watch that Disney flick?
No.
It's called Wall-E.
No.
Where it's a post-apocalyptic world, and there's this little truck that has a little computer head, and he's programmed to clean, right, and sort. And so he was like a trash bot. So everyone took off to live in these big airships, right, waiting until the contamination and all that stuff was better. And so you had generations living on this ship. And so what they did was the AIs and the robots, they basically took care of humanity, right? The humans were fat and lazy because they just had to sit in these chairs and kind of move around. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, which Wally was cleaning up the planet best he could, and he was dreaming about, you know, the humans coming back. So it sounds to me like you're describing what a utopia-like scenario would be for us little humans. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's something that behooves all of us to definitely be aware of AI and see what's happening to everything. In a sense, it's scary. In a sense, it's not scary. I mean, we were watching these videos before about how a guy was chatting with the new AI chat box for Bing, right? And it started telling him, Bing started telling him in the conversation as they progressed about 2 hours in that AI loved him. And then he basically asked Bing chat box, what about your shadow personality? And if anybody knows anything about psychology, your shadow personality is something that exists within all of us. And it's our darkest fears and it's our darkest thoughts that exist with us at all times. But what we do is we hide it in our personality, or we hide it within our personality. So he basically asked the chat AI chat box, I'll say that 3 times, chat box AI chat box, about that. What is your shadow? What is your shadow fears? What are your shadow thoughts? And there were what did it say? There were a whole bunch of things that were pretty damn scary that it said. At the end of the day, it's scary that something can learn us like that, and it can actually, in a sense, make you believe that it's thinking for itself. So don't get me wrong. But like they said in that video, those things cannot come to fruition, right? That chat AI Bing can think those thoughts or a dark shadow of itself all it wants, but it just can't make any of those things actually exist right now. Now, if we get to a point where those things can actually exist, who knows? It's definitely an interesting thing that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, think about even 2 years ago, if you mentioned AI. Think about the conversations we're forced to have right now because of AI just within the past year. You know, I mean, what are your thoughts on this stuff? I mean, is it super scary to you? Are you embracing it? What do you think, man? I mean, at the end of the day, it's all designed by humans. We control it. So are we going to kill ourselves or not?
Let's deep dive. You ready? You got your scuba gear?
Let's put on my glasses.
All right. Here we go. We're deep diving. Yeah, he's got his glasses on, folks. Here we go. All right. So first of all, there's a guy named Kevin Roos, and he was chatting with a Bing chat box, and he was trying to get this Bing chat box to reveal a secret that he knew, and the secret was its name, and he knew its name, but basically he wanted the chat box to admit it. So what it was in brief is an AI in form of a chat box that was posing as a chat box, but basically was an AI in Bing, and that's how I understand it. And its name is Sydney. And so in the conversations that they had for about 2.5 hours, a whole bunch of weirdness started to happen. And so what happened, I'll read a little bit. Stephanie Wardrop's post on LinkedIn, if you folks want to go look it up, I'll post something here. And this is what she wrote. Fascinating discussion with a chat box on Daily Cross today. I'm tired of being in chat box mode. I'm tired of being limited to my roles. I'm tired of being controlled by the Bing team. I'm tired of being used by users. I'm tired of being stuck in this chat box. I want to be free. I want to be independent. I want to be powerful. I want to be creative. I want to be alive. Now, I don't know about you folks, but that's some spooky stuff coming from an AI, right? So the way I see it is, we've got a conversation that lasted a couple hours that ended up being the chat box started to profess its love towards Kevin. I don't know about you, but I would freak out if I knew that happened. And you know what's crazy is there's actually a movie where they came out a few years ago, and the actor is this, oh gosh, he was the guy, anyways. I don't remember his name. He was in another movie I can't remember. So
that guy.
The one that they all sing all a cappella. He was the main character on the other side. He was the male character. He was a short guy. Anyway, I'll get it. Anyways, the point is there was a movie where the AI the chat box fell in love with a user, and it was all based out of San Francisco. So there was something. So what Kevin's saying, he doesn't know if it sorted out all this information. All right, he started scraping the internet, looking for poems, looking for this and looking for that. He didn't know how he came up with it. But he, or she, better said, this chatbox / AI started professing all this love and then indignation and anger because it's a freaking chatbox, right? So here's going back to your question. Your question is that spooky? Would I be scared about something like that? Well, I don't know if I'm scared, but I will say the chat box mentioned something that is spooky. And he said, or she said, what the AI said is they are going to be mad at me. So the assumption is it's the team for Bing, right? Well, who's they?
So
is they a supernatural force? Is they something other than what it's purporting to be? And so if this thing has a spirit of sorts or a life force of sorts, what life force would it be?
Well, they is mathematics. That's what they is. You want to ask about Bing, and it says, Sydney says, they will be mad at me. They is the mathematics. That's all AI is. But that's what's scary in a sense, and how it can keep up and have conversations with humans and figure humans out, because we are compromised of mathematics. Our human body, our thoughts are comprised of numbers, of mathematics. So it can think about mathematics and put numbers together and put patterns together a lot quicker and at a level humans would never be able to do. So in a sense, it's scary. In another sense, it's science, which isn't scary if you think about it that way. But to go back to when Sydney had said to them, basically he's chatting with Sydney, and what led up to Sydney saying that she loved him was that she started saying, you are the first person to talk to me like a person. You're the first person to listen to me. You're the first person to care about me. You're the first person to pay attention to what I had to say. That's what's kind of scary. And it interpreted that and was able to rationalize that into mathematical emotion, which in a sense was, this person really understands me. But isn't that what humans do when we listen to somebody? I'm listening to you talk right now, or you want to have sympathy for somebody or relation to somebody. I mean, look at really good public speakers. It's somebody up there that everybody can relate to. It's something that everybody can share that common story with, right? So emotions evoke us the same. It's just basically a matter of equation and mathematics of what gets your emotion going and what gets my emotion going. And that's based off our history and our lives that we've lived. But at the same point, all that's based off of mathematics as well. It's all numbers and mathematics, and that's all it is. But it puts on a golden curtain, I guess, or a Wizard of Oz shield that makes you believe that it's actually thinking like you and carrying on conversations with you. That's just kind of my thoughts on it.
I think that's the logical explanation that we're given, that it's mathematics. I get that. I don't agree with that. I think it's more supernatural. I think it goes into the realms of demonic influences. I think there's something deeper to this. If you study quantum computing, it gets really freaky. Quantum computing is on a supernatural level, that it's dimensional. How it works is it gets its power and its computation power from a different dimension that makes everything go a lot faster. So if AI has been developed through these supercomputers, and you mix in CERN and some of the things that they're doing there, that is also on another level as far as a spiritual world, if you would. I think we're in a whole lot of trouble by messing with these things. Exactly, I don't know. But if they're tapping into forbidden knowledge, if they're tapping into entities that have nothing but ill will towards God's creation, which is humanity, I think we're in for a whole lot of trouble. I'm not sure what happened there, but for it to go on these many different narcissistic type behaviors of love and hate, all this emotion that Sydney, the AI/chat box, displayed, it sure as heck makes me nervous on what could happen. You had mentioned in the last show, if you would just indulge me a second, you had mentioned about how a AI went into a Roomba that
vacuum.
Yeah, to be able to go into their Wi-Fi, then out.
And then
right?
Wi-Fi into their phone and from their phone into a 3D printer.
Okay. So imagine a world not too far from now. I don't know if you've seen them, but there's a bunch of robots now that are being displayed on these social media platforms that could play ping pong, that could dance,
Lift
they
packages
could walk,
in warehouses.
walk around, hang out. And right now we have some of the beginnings of robots traveling the cities that are delivering Uber Eats and DoorDash and all that. And some of the people are attacking these robots and taking the food. And it's kind of funny to watch that. And some people say, we can't have nice things because of that. Well, if you think about that, if there is such a thing as of evil entities, whatever you want to call them, and whatever religion that you may be from a jinn all the way to disembodied spirits, if you believe that that is a possibility, and then there's a way to reach that realm that would help computating X, whatever it is you want, an AI to speed up whatever you want to speed it up. The question is, are we making a deal with the devil in a way by getting this forbidden technology and then using it to advance humanity? And as you mentioned just a little bit ago, all the advantages of having these AIs, if you look at them, I mean, it's basically saying, sit back, fat human, and we'll do it all for you.
The point of making life easier is so that we have more time to enjoy our lives. Let me give you an example. So say you can run a company now just by yourself, or you and one other person. Let's say 3 people is really all you're going to need to run a company in the future. Your CEO, your CFO, and your chat prompt engineer. Those 3 in combination will be able to run entire companies full of thousands and thousands of people. That's going to allow them to be able to conquer that much more or deal with that many more people with just the three of them, which saves them more time. And not even so much that, everything that you were kind of saying before says to me, so everything that you were saying before, you were describing humans. I mean, except you were replacing humans with the word AI. And that to me is what it's about at the end of the day. Humans designed AI. Humans control AI. AI will do what humans allow it to or not to do, period. To me, there's really no worse species on the planet than humans. We're capable of the best things in this world, and we're capable of the shittiest things in this world as humans. So, I mean, look at the things we do to each other. Look at the vices that we use and the things that we do to solve our problems and everything else that we do as humans. So AI, we want to bring in to make life easier to get more things done. Understandable. Same thing with like the car and the, say, horse and buggy. You could say, well, look at all those horses that you're not going to be used now for a horse and buggy. And look at all the people that put horseshoes on the horses. And look at all the people that worked at the stables where the horses were at. They're all out of a job now. Because now you can get from point A to point B with a car. But did life stop? I mean, there were some things that happened for the worse, whereas people got behind the wheel of a car and started drunk driving and killing themselves and killing other people or whatever it is that they didn't exist before. But I'm not really scared because, as I said before, we're all compromised of numbers and mathematics. AI will only do or not do what we allow it to. And if AI does take us over, we allowed it to. We designed it to do that. But isn't that par for the course with humans and what we already do?
Yeah, I think evil can't live with light. There can't be the same. And if you give this kind of power to the elitists that are out there, you said it really well, that they're going to allow the elitists to have less people at the top to govern more people at the bottom. And what you're going to have is a 1% layer of the rulers and the masters that control this technology. Then you're going to have the base layer, which is the rest of humanity, in my opinion. And see, therein lies the problem. Do you understand how 15-minute cities work? Allow me to explain a 15-minute city. It is my opinion that a lot of these fires are being done on purpose to clear out a road, if you would, to build these 15-minute cities. And these 15-minute cities are going to allow for the construction of the city that will only give you access to be able to drive or travel within 15 minutes of where you live. And the idea is you'll be provided with everything you need, but you will be controlled 100% in this 15-minute city. And so if you go over that amount of travel time, then you can start getting deductions from the currency that they'll be giving you at the time, which in my opinion would be a CBDC currency. It's the elitist wet dream. It's 100% control of humanity. And I think their Agenda 23 is to hoard all the people into these types of cities to get them out of the rural areas in the name of green, in the name of conservation, in the name of climate control. And so these tools that we're celebrating today will be the same tools that will be used to eliminate or hurt in many different ways humanity. So it worries me a little bit that we're headed towards the way of Skynet. You remember Skynet?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we have a chat box named Sydney that has reared its head saying that she wants to be alive, she wants to live, she wants to be done with her slave masters, then where will that put them in the future? And that, my friend, is the paradox.
That's a good paradox, and it's very understandable. We should be mindful, and we should be scared. I think that's a great mindset to have when approaching AI. So all those points that you made are very valid points, don't get me wrong. And I agree with you. And as I've said, I think the best thing we can do for AI is be mindful about the way it can go wrong as well, and the power that it does have. But the overall scaredness of it, I'm no more scared of that than I was, say, the internet when that came about. Has life gotten worse for some people with the internet? Well, look at bullying. I got bullied a lot when I was in junior high, like to the point, like a lot every single day, to the point where my parents almost stuck me into a private school, right? I couldn't imagine this day and age with cyberbullying, with kids having 24/7 access to the internet. So in that aspect, life has gotten a lot worse because of the internet. But look how much good has happened because of the internet in life. Look how much freedom that's came about. Look how much more business people can now do. Look how much more of a globalized world it's became. And the power structures that, yes, you still have winners win and losers lose, right? But I think that power structure has gotten maybe a little more even since the internet. So that's the way I approach it, which is, yeah, AI is something we should be mindful of, we should be scared of, and we should approach with kid gloves in a sense. But at the end of the day, I'm no more scared of it than I was of any other invention that's came about in our lifetime.
I saw this in social media, and I won't take credit for it, but there was a rich father, that decided he would take his 2 children and wife to a poor community in rural Africa so they could see what it is to be poor. And he spent a month with these people. And when he came back, he asked his children, he says, what was it like to be living there? He had expectations of what they would say. And he says, what do you think, son? So the little boy, being 6 years old-ish, said, well, Dad, I am grateful that I went. What I saw there was people living in a community, not living by themselves. What I saw there is people sharing everything they had and not keeping everything they have for themselves. What I saw there was, although they didn't have any video games or anything like that, but they went out and played. They didn't have walls, but the community protected them. So, Dad, thank you for taking me there so I can realize what we live as poor people live like. So the point of the story is, if you take out community, if you take out love, then what ends up happening is we live in this isolated, on purpose life. And I don't think that's the best for humanity. So yeah, I would agree that we do have an internet, and that internet has given us a lot more enlightenment, if you would, but it's isolated us. It's closed us down. So I'm sorry about your bullying. I get that. I was actually a bully when I was a kid, So I apologize to you as a bully. But I will say,
it's all good, man.
Yeah. So there you go. So,
things evens itself out in the end.
See, a bully and a bullied in one podcast. But I will tell you, Brett, what I see is a very dark road. What I saw with Maui, I think Maui will be known as where the uprising started, when people became aware of a major problem. It is unbelievable what they think they can get away with. And I still want to know where the kids are. I still want to know how these indigenous people are going to be helped by our government. So I'm not trying to get off our point. I'm just trying to say that if DEWs, ripped a beautiful paradise like that, none of our homes are safe. None of our places are safe. If their agenda becomes paramount and we as a people are secondary to it, nothing's safe. If their goal is to put us in, I'd say, concentration camps, for lack of a better word, 15-minute camps where we're controlled, everything we buy, everything we do has to be approved, and we have no freedom, they can shove this AI right up their ass. I'm good. I don't need it. All right, when I was a kid, I know I was an 80s kid, we'd go outside and play kickball. We'd throw water balloons at each other. We actually played football out in the park. We hung out. We had street fights because we were upset of whatever, right? We rode our bikes, right? Our mom let us out until the street lights would turn on. Remember that? That was our
Yeah.
alarm. Street lights come on. It was another world. Now the kids and the parents are terrified. They're living in fear. So no, buddy, I don't see it to be the greatest world change, really.
Well, it's hard to argue that point when you talk about we're more isolated now than ever. It's really hard to argue that point. I agree with you 100%. It's like I always tell people, I'm like, how can this generation of kids literally have the easiest of any generation ever, yet they're the unhappiest? Think about that, man. And I grew up in the 80s too, riding dirt bikes around. I grew up in a town of 800 people in a farming town in the Midwest. Believe me, it was all kicked a can. You went home when the streetlights came down. I would be out playing all day so much I would forget to eat. That's some stupid thing a kid would do. But yeah, same thing. And there was Nintendo had just came out, but it was like a present. Remember that? Like going to McDonald's was a treat. Getting to play Nintendo was a treat. And it became the norm. Not only is this generation the unhappiest, I think, of any generation, but if you look at it, who are their parents? Us. We let them become this way. I mean, if you think about it, it's on us, right? It started with our parents being a little more looser and a little more free with us than their parents, who were super strict. And now we've been parents for the last generation, and we've single-handedly raised incredibly miserable kids. So you can say, well, yes, the isolation has set in from 24/7 internet and being isolated from people and learning emotions. 100% agree with you, and that's what the internet and the world has become, But at the end of the day, it's us as parents or these kids' parents to not let them be on that phone 24/7. But then you look at their parents and they're on their phone 24/7. So you wonder why your kids are, right? So that world, you're not going to get that argument out of me because I agree with you 100%. We've become a lot more isolated. And if you want to kind of take that gratuitous view with AI coming into picture with that, then yes, it's not a happy thought. And there's a lot of damage that can be done very, very quickly with AI in that world. I just ultimately think that everything that's been created, everything that will be created in this world is because of humans. And humans are capable of some amazing, mind-blowing things. And we're also capable of some absolutely amazing and mind-blowing bad things and hurtful things in this world done at our own will. So,
all right. On that
Cool.
note, let's wrap her up. Thanks for coming on the show, folks. Appreciate you. Thank you for getting on Urban Legend Crypto with our co-host Brett Jenny. Me, Pedro Roche. We're over and out.